Hey fellow nerds, today we are going to learn correlation of signals. We'll be dealing with cross correlation and autocorrelation. First of all, we have to understand what is correlation. Correlation is used to measure the degree of similarity of two signals. If you have two signals, you can use correlation to understand how similar they are to each other. But why do we need to do that? Let me give you a situation where you need to understand how similar two signals are. Imagine you're trying to locate an aeroplane using a radar. This is how you do it. You transmit a signal. When it reaches the aeroplane, it will be reflected back and you will receive a signal. Let us take x of n to be the transmitted signal and y of n to be the received signal. The received signal y of n will consist of a delayed version of x of n because x of n takes some time to reach the aeroplane and then come back. So we can write y of n is equal to alpha x of n minus k plus w of n. The n minus k obviously shows the time shifting because of the delay. Alpha is the attenuation factor and omega of n can be considered as the noise signal that your receiver might pick up. Now, what if the aeroplane is not over there? In that case, your receiver will only pick up the noise W of n. If there is no target in the space, Y of n will only contain noise. This is where correlation helps us. It helps us to check if the received signal Y of n contains the shifted transmitted signal X of n minus k. Let us take two discrete time sequences as examples. X of n is minus 1, 2, minus 1, 2 being the zeroth term. Y of n is 2, 1, 1, 1 being the zeroth term. What I am going to do is take the product of these two signals. So we'll have to multiply the corresponding terms with each other. Minus 1 will be multiplied with 2. I will get minus 2. Then 2 will be multiplied with 1. I'll get 2. Minus 1 with 1. I'll get minus 1. Now I will add all of these. And this gives me minus 1. Now I'm going to shift the second signal y of n towards right by one sample. So the zeroth term will become 2 now. Now if I multiply them, 2 will be multiplied with 2, minus 1 will be multiplied with 1, and this minus 1 will be multiplied with 0 because there is nothing, and this 1 will be multiplied with 0. So I get 0 plus 4 minus 1 plus 0, that is 3. I am going to shift the signal again towards right. To show that the zeroth term is now just behind 2, I have put a 0 there. Now 2 will be multiplied with 0, minus 1 with 2, 1 and 1 with 0, and minus 1 with 0. So we get 2 into 0, 0, minus 1 into 2, 2. So it is simply going to be minus 2. If I shift it once more towards the right, then minus 1 will be multiplied with 0, 2 with 0, minus 1 with 0, 2, 1, 1, everything with 0, and I am simply getting 0. If I keep shifting it towards right, I will keep getting 0. So we are not doing that anymore. Let's bring back our original signal. Now let us shift y of n towards left. So the zeroth term will become 1 now. 2 will be multiplied with 1, minus 1 with 1, this minus 1 with some 0, this 2 with some 0. So we get minus 1 plus 2, that is 1. Let's further shift it towards left by taking a 0 over here. That will become the zeroth term. Now 2 will be multiplied with 0, minus 1 with 1, and the rest of them with some zeros. So we get minus 1. If I further shift it towards left, I will only keep getting zeros. So let us ignore those. Now we got this when there was no shifting. So I will call it Rxy of 0. I got this when I shifted y of n by one sample towards the right. So I'll call it Rxy of 1. The next one will be called Rxy of 2. We got the next one when y of n was shifted one sample to the left. So we'll call it Rxy of minus 1. Similarly, the last one will become Rxy of minus 2. Since we are dealing with discrete time signals, let us use square brackets. Putting all of them together, we can write Rxy of k is minus 1, 1, minus 1, 3, and minus 2. Why did I write it in this particular order? I took Rxy of minus 2 towards the left, then Rxy of minus 1, then Rxy of 0, Rxy of 1, and Rxy of 2. So the zeroth term is this minus 1. Also, we can see that the highest number we got is plus 3 over here, and that corresponds to one shift towards the right. Let us see what happened when we shifted y of n 1 units towards the right. Then these two terms became the same. This is 2, this is 2. These two are also ones, but one is negative, one is positive. So we can say there is some similarity between the sequences when the second one is shifted one unit towards the right. The least number we got is minus 2, which is corresponding to a shift of 2 units towards the right. So let's see what happens. In that case, minus 1 will correspond to 0. Corresponding to 1 and 1, we are getting 0. 2 minus 1, we are getting 0. They are very much different from each other. That is why we got negative 2. And that simply means the sequences are not very similar when y of n was not shifted towards left by 1 unit, shifted towards left by 2 units also. So we can conclude that Rxy of k actually helps us to see how similar x of n and y of n are. And this is what we call cross correlation. Cross correlation is used to check the similarity between two signals. Let us now take another example. We have x of n is minus 1, 2, minus 1, 1. Zeroth term is 2. Y of n is also minus 1, 2, minus 1, 1. Its zeroth term is also 2. To get Rxy of 0, I will multiply minus 1 with minus 1, 2 with 2, minus 1 with minus 1, 1 with 1, and I will get 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1, and I am getting 7. To get Rxy of 1, I need to shift y of n 1 units towards the right. To make it simple, I'll just move it like this. So we can multiply 2 with minus 1 with 2, 1 with minus 1. Because these are the only ones overlapping. We'll get minus 2, minus 2, minus 1, and that is minus 5. Shift it 1 more units. Now we have to multiply minus 1 with minus 1, 1 with 2. 1 plus 2, that is 3. Do it again. We have 1 into minus 1, that is minus 1. Now if you further shift it towards right, there won't be any overlapping. So we'll simply get 0. So let's shift it towards left now. Minus 1 with 2, 2 with minus 1 with 1. That is minus 2, minus 2, minus 1. So minus 5. Shift it 1 more unit. And we have minus 1 with minus 1, 2 with 1. That is 1 plus 2, which is 3. Move it again. We get minus 1 with 1. So minus 1. Together we can write Rxy of k will be, let's take the leftmost first, Rxy of minus 3. That is minus 1, 3, minus 5. Then we have to start with 0, 7, minus 5, 3, minus 1. But here y of n is actually the same as x of n. We can rather call it x of n itself. So we found the correlation between x of n and x of n. So instead of writing Rxy of k, we can just write Rxx of k. Let's change all of these y's into x's. And this is what we call autocorrelation. Autocorrelation is used to check the similarity between a signal and its own shifted version. Here we can see the highest number we got is 7, and it corresponds to no shift in the signal, which is obvious because we are finding the correlation between the same signals. They are the most similar when one of them is not shifted at all. In the previous example, x of n and y of n were most similar when y of n was shifted one sample towards the right. Now, this is the information that correlation gives us. But another question is, why are we finding the similarity between the same sequences? We already know they are same, so they have to be similar when they are not shifted at all, right? To give you an application of autocorrelation, let us take another example. In this example, we'll take a continuous time signal. I have taken a cos function. Obviously, if I take autocorrelation right now, when the second function is not shifted at all, I will get the maximum value. If I shift it a little bit towards right or left, obviously the autocorrelation value is going to be lesser. But the thing about a periodic function is x of t plus the time period will be the same as x of t. So if the shifting is a multiple of its time period, they will again exactly align with each other, and I will again get the maximum value of autocorrelation. So the correlation function that we get by doing this will have periodic peaks. And using that, we can figure out the frequency of x of t. And using that, we will be able to figure out the frequency of our function x of t. Let us now concentrate on correlation of continuous time signals and bring some mathematics into it. We will mathematically define correlation for energy signals and power signals separately. In cross correlation, for energy signals, we can define Rxy of tau as this: integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t minus tau dt. We will keep x of t as such. We will keep shifting y of t, then take the product, and then take integration. The thing about power signals is that their energy is infinite. So if you simply take this integral, it might not converge, meaning you will get an infinite value rather than a finite value. But to compare the signals, you need a finite value. So what we do is we will take time average in the case of power signals. We will define Rxy of tau like this: limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t y of t minus tau dt. Power signals are usually periodic. In that case, you can simply take this part and calculate it for one period. If it is not periodic, then it will extend from minus infinity to infinity. Then you can apply the limit t tends to infinity and use the same expression. Let's move on to autocorrelation. For energy signals, the equation will be like this: Rx of tau is integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t minus tau dt. We can write a similar equation for power signals also. Rx of tau will be like this: limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t minus tau dt. These equations kind of remind us of convolution, right? So let us have a comparison between convolution and correlation. We have taken Rxy of tau as integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t minus tau dt. This is the correlation between x of t and y of t. Now, convolution between x of t and y of t is written like this: integral from minus infinity to infinity x of tau y of t minus tau d tau. There we were taking the signals as functions of tau. What if instead of x of t and y of t, I wanted the convolution of x of tau and y of tau? We can simply change t to tau and maybe tau to t. So this will become integral minus infinity to infinity. Instead of x of tau, we'll write x of t. Y of t minus tau, we'll write y of tau minus t. D tau will become dt. What if instead of this, I wanted convolution of x of tau with y of minus tau? Then that would be integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t. The only difference is instead of tau, I took minus tau. So instead of tau minus t, I'll have to take minus of tau minus t, that is t minus tau. So y of t minus tau dt. But this is exactly the same as r xy of tau. So I can write a relation r xy of tau is nothing but the convolution of x of tau and y of minus tau. What if I want r yx of tau? Simple, it will be convolution of y of tau with x of minus tau. What if I want autocorrelation of x of t? R xx of tau will be convolution of x of tau with x of minus tau. Let's analyze this intuitively now. While doing convolution of x of t and y of t, what we do is we take both of them as functions of tau. So y of t minus tau, since there is a negative tau, it will be inversed. And then we will slide it from one end of x of t to the other end, keep multiplying and then integrate. While taking correlation also we take the same thing except the time reversal is not applicable. An important difference you can see in these two equations is that here we have dt, here we have d tau. We're taking as a function of tau, we're taking as a function of t. Since we're taking y of t minus tau as a function of t, t has a positive scaling factor. Y of t minus tau will not be time reversed. We will simply take x of t, we will simply take y of t minus tau, then slide y of t minus tau from one end of x of t to the other, multiply, integrate. The only difference is in correlation, the time reversal is not there. Let us now learn some properties of correlation function. The first property is that r yx of tau will be r xy of minus tau. Let's prove it for energy signals first. r xy of tau is defined as integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t minus tau dt. We take the product of x of t and y of t shifted 2 units towards the right. Wouldn't it be the same if we just kept y of t like that and shifted x of t towards left 2 units? Both will give us the same product, right? So this can be written as integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t shifted 2 units towards the left multiplied by y of t. Let this be our equation number 1. Now let's write r yx of tau. It will be integral from minus infinity to infinity y of t x of t minus tau dt. Here we took y of t as such, shifted x of t towards the right by tau units. Now from equation number 1, we can write rxy of minus tau. When we took rxy of tau, we got x of t plus tau. If we take rxy of minus tau, here we will get x of t minus tau. So this will be integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t minus tau y of t dt. But isn't this the same as this? We have y of t, we have y of t. We have x of t minus tau, we have x of t minus tau. We are integrating from minus infinity to infinity. So this is the proof that r xy of minus tau is the same as r yx of tau. For a power signal, we write r xy of tau is limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t y of t minus tau dt. Here we kept x of t intact and shifted y of t towards the right. We can keep y of t intact and shift x of t towards the left. So this can be written as limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t plus tau y of t dt. This will be our equation number 1. Now we can write r yx of tau. It will be limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 y of t x of t minus tau dt. Now from the first equation, if I want to write r x y of minus tau, the only thing that changes is x of t plus tau will now become x of t minus tau. So this will be limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t minus tau y of t dt. But this is the same as this, so we can conclude r yx of tau is the same as taking r xy of minus tau. The next property we have to prove is for autocorrelation. We have to prove that r xx of tau is the same as r xx of minus tau. We'll prove it for energy signals. Autocorrelation of x of t r xx of tau is defined like this: integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t minus tau dt. Here we have shifted y of t towards right and kept x of t like that. We can shift x of t towards left instead. So this will become integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t plus tau y of t dt. Now we want rxx of minus tau. From equation number 1, rxx of tau is x of t y of t minus tau. If I take minus tau instead of tau here, I will get plus tau instead of minus tau here. So it will be integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t plus tau dt. But this is the same as this. That means rxx of tau is the same as rxx of minus tau. This means that autocorrelation is an even function. It will look the same on either side of the y-axis. Now this can be easily proved for power signals also. I think you should do it yourself. Let's go to another property. Rxx of 0 is Ex. Ex stands for energy of x of t. Now this is only applicable for energy signals, so let us prove it. We define autocorrelation Rxx of tau like this: integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t minus tau dt. So if I want Rxx of 0, I'll have to give 0 for tau over here. And I will get integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t dt. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that if our signals whose correlation we are trying to find out are complex valued, then you have to take the conjugate of the second function. It will be integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y conjugate of t minus tau. To make this property more general, let us consider x of t is complex valued. Then rxx of 0 will become integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t. Second one will be x conjugate of t dt. But what is the product of x of t and x conjugate of t? Let's take an example. Let's say we have a plus jb. Its conjugate is a minus jb. I am taking the product. I will get a square minus jab plus jab plus b square. So this is simply a square plus b square. But tell me, what is the magnitude of a plus jb? It is root of a square plus b square. What is the magnitude of a minus jb? It is also root of a square plus minus b whole square is b square. So we can say their product is actually the square of the magnitude. The product is the square of the magnitude. Over here, we are taking the product of x of t and its conjugate. So the product will be the square of magnitude of x of t. So we can write integral from minus infinity to infinity, square of magnitude of x of t dt. But what is this? This is how we defined the energy of a signal x of t. So this is equal to Ex. In the next property, we will prove Rxx of 0 is the power of x of t for power signals. Autocorrelation of a function x of t can be written like this. Rxx of tau is limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t minus tau dt. If I want Rxx of 0, I'll just have to give value 0 for all tau's, and the only place where we have tau here is here. So it becomes limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t dt. Let's do the generalization here also. For x of t being complex, we can write Rxx of 0 will be limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t multiplied by x conjugate of t dt. But product of x of t and x conjugate of t is the square of magnitude of x of t. So this will be limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 square of magnitude of x of t dt. But this is what we call power of x of t. This is equal to px. So if you find autocorrelation of a power signal at tau equal to 0, what you actually get is the power of that signal. The next property is that magnitude of cross correlation of x of t and y of t will always be less than or equal to root of product of their energies. To prove that, first let's write down the cross correlation of x and y. Rxy of tau will be integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t minus tau dt. If I square both sides of this equation, I will get square of Rxy of tau will be equal to square of integral minus infinity to infinity x of t y of t minus tau dt. By using a mathematical inequality called Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, if we take integral of x of t into y of t and square it, it will always be less than or equal to the product of integral of x square of t dt and integral of y square of t dt. If we apply that here, we can write square of Rxy of tau. This will always be less than or equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity. Let's take square of the first function x of t. So x of t square dt multiplied by integral from minus infinity to infinity square of the second function y of t minus tau square dt. I took magnitude square by assuming the generalization what if x of t and y of t are complex valued. Now this is obviously energy of x of t ex. This would have been energy of y of t ey if we had y of t square, right? But here we have y of t minus tau squared. But that doesn't make a difference actually because this is just the shifted version of the same signal. Shifting does not affect the energy of the signal. So this is now going to be EY. So we can write this is less than or equal to product of EX and EY. Taking root on both sides, we get Rxy of tau will always be less than or equal to root of product of Ex and Ey. Now for power signals, we can prove that this is going to be less than or equal to root of product of powers of these two signals, and that can be easily done using the same steps which I will leave to you. The next property is that magnitude of autocorrelation of x of t will always be less than or equal to the energy of x of t. Intuitively, we can explain it like this. We know when we are taking autocorrelation, the two signals are the same. So obviously, we will get a peak when they are not shifted at all, that is at 0. But we learned in another property that autocorrelation at 0 will also give the energy of the signal. So its peak value is going to be its energy. So whatever other value you get will be less than energy. But we have to prove it mathematically, for which let us use the previous property. That is magnitude of Rxy of tau will always be less than or equal to root of Ex into Ey. So simply we can write magnitude of Rxx of tau will be less than or equal to root of Ex into Ex. That is, this is less than or equal to Ex. According to the next property, if x of t plus t is the same as x of t, that is x of t is periodic with a time period t, then its autocorrelation will also be periodic by t. That is Rxx of tau plus t will be the same as Rxx of tau. We already saw an intuitive example earlier, but let's do a mathematical one now. We have to find the autocorrelation of x of t, which is a sine omega naught t. Obviously, it is a sine function, it is periodic. It is also a power signal because its energy is infinite and power is finite. For a power signal, this is how we define Rxx of tau. Limit t tends to infinity, 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2, x of t minus tau dt. But x of t is a sine omega naught t. So this becomes limit t tends to infinity, 1 by t integral minus t by 2 to t by 2, a sine omega naught t multiplied by a sine omega naught t minus tau dt. We have a square is a constant, it can come out of the integration. Then what is left is sine omega naught t into sine omega naught into t minus tau. But according to the trigonometric identity, sine a into sine b can be written as 1 by 2 into cos of a minus b minus cos of a plus b. Using that, here we get limit t tends to infinity. We're taking a square out, so a square by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2. 1 by 2 is there, which can also be taken out. So a square by 2t is outside. And inside we have cos of a minus b will be omega naught t minus omega naught t plus omega naught tau minus cos of A plus B will be omega naught t plus omega naught t minus omega naught tau dt. Here these two get cancelled and we simply get omega naught tau. Here we get 2 omega naught t minus omega naught tau. Therefore, our xx of tau will be limit t tends to infinity 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2. First term is cos of omega naught tau dt. Let's split the integration. So minus integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2. Second term is cos of 2 omega naught t minus omega naught tau dt. Now this part is simply integrating a cos function throughout one time period, which will become 0 because a cos function throughout one time period looks like this. It has equal amount of positive and negative. If you integrate, you will get 0. But the first term is also the same, right? We are integrating a cos function throughout an interval from minus t by 2 to t by 2, that is one time period. But actually the cos function is a function of tau, cos omega naught tau. We are integrating with respect to t. So tau is a constant here. Cos omega naught tau is a constant. So what it actually is this limit t tends to infinity. This is not 1 by t. This is supposed to be a square by 2t because we have taken a square and 1 by 2 out of the integration. I'll correct it, a square by 2t. So limit t tends to infinity, a square by 2t. We can also take cos omega naught tau out of integration now since tau is a constant. Cos omega naught tau integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 dt. This is limit t tends to infinity, a square by 2t cos omega naught tau integral dt is just t from minus t by 2 to t by 2. And this gives us limit t tends to infinity, a square by 2t cos omega naught tau multiplied by t by 2 minus t by 2 just t. So t over here and t over here will get cancelled. After that there is no t anywhere here. So limit t tends to infinity doesn't affect our equation. We can simply write this is a square by 2 cos of omega naught tau. So this is the autocorrelation of x of t. It is very obviously periodic and we can show it on a graph like this. Its maximum value will be when cos omega naught tau is 1, which is when tau is equal to 0, and it will be equal to a square by 2. So at tau equal to 0, I have marked a square by 2. But we also know the value of autocorrelation at 0 is what we call the power of that signal, as long as we are dealing with the power signal. So let's write down power of this signal is Rxx at 0, and that here is a square by 2. Let us solve another question. Here we have x of t, which is a rectangular signal ranging from minus t by 2 to t by 2. Its height is a. We have to find the autocorrelation of x of t. We have to find the energy of x of t and autocorrelation of a shifted version of x of t, that is x of t minus 2t. In this question, we will find autocorrelation of x of t by using graphs itself. Autocorrelation of x of t, Rxx of tau, is defined like this: integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t minus tau dt. I am taking the equation for energy signal because obviously a rectangular signal is an energy signal. But we have also learned that correlation of x of t can also be written as convolution of x of tau with x of minus tau. This is the idea that we are going to use here to find out autocorrelation of x of t because we are already familiar with finding convolution. So we can simply use that to find autocorrelation here. Before we start, let me take you through a thought process. If I wanted to take convolution of x of t and y of t, I would take x of tau and y of t minus tau, and both of them would be functions of tau. If I wanted x of tau and y of tau, then I will take x of t and y of tau minus t. What if now I want x of tau and x of tau? Then I will take x of t and x of tau minus t. Okay, now what if I want x of tau and x of minus tau? The first one is still x of tau, so I will take x of t. For the second one, if it were x of tau, I would take x of tau minus t. If I am taking x of minus tau, there is a time reversal, then I would take x of t minus tau. What I want here is the convolution between x of tau and x of minus tau. So I will be taking x of t as a function of t, x of t minus tau as a function of t. I have x of t over here. It is the rectangular function given in the question. Now I have x of t minus tau. I have taken it as a function of t, not tau, because we are taking convolution of functions of tau. For x of t minus tau, the scaling factor is positive, so no time reversal. Then for shifting, we have minus tau, so it will be shifted tau units. My tau looks like t, so I will adjust it. Now all we have to do is we have to slide this one from one end to the other of this one, keep multiplying, and then integrate. Let us use these graphs for that. Now, according to the equation, we have to integrate from minus infinity to infinity. But if the second signal is shifted anything more than t, that is over here, then they are not overlapping anymore and we will only get 0. If the shifting is between t and 0, we can see some overlapping over here. And as I move it from here to 0, you can see it keeps increasing and the overlapping becomes maximum when this is at 0. Now if I keep moving it towards right, it will decrease and becomes 0 when the shifting has been t units. After which we simply get 0 because there is no overlapping. So our x-axis of tau will look like this. It will be 0 till minus t, start increasing up to 0 where we get the maximum value, and then decreases until t, after which it gets 0. Now what is the maximum value? We get maximum value when this is at the 0 like this. The product will be a multiplied by a, that is a square, but after taking product we have to integrate also. While integrating, you will get the area under the graph. So the graph whose value is a square will range from minus t by 2 to t by 2, that is t units. So area will be a square into t. This is what we get at tau equal to 0. So maximum value is a square t. And this is the autocorrelation of our rectangular function x of t. Definitely this can be done mathematically also. I did it this way because I thought this will give you more of an intuition on how correlation works. But it will be really helpful if you try the mathematical method yourself. The second thing we have to find out here is energy of x of t. But we already know energy of an energy signal will be its correlation at 0. And we already found that it is a square t. So energy is a square t. But this can also be done mathematically. Let us try that way also. Autocorrelation at 0 will be integral from minus infinity to infinity, square of magnitude of x of t dt. But here the function only ranges from minus t by t to t by 2. So we only have to integrate from minus t by 2 to t by 2. Integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2. Magnitude of x of t in this interval is a. So a square dt. A square is a constant, take it out. A square integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 dt, or a square integral dt is t from minus t by 2 to t by 2. So this is a square into t by 2 minus t by 2, which is t. So we get the same answer mathematically also. Now we have to find the autocorrelation of x of t minus 2t, which is the shifted version of x of t. So the equation here becomes integral from minus infinity to infinity. Instead of x of t, we'll have to write x of t minus 2t. Instead of x of t minus tau, we'll have to write x of t minus 2t minus tau dt. That is, along with x of t, the other function is also shifting. To show it graphically, let us take these two. X of t minus 2t is x of t that is shifted 2t units towards the right. So this point, which was at minus t by 2, will now be at minus t by 2 plus 2t, that is 3t by 2. This point that was at t by 2 will now be at t by 2 plus 2t, that is 5t by 2. So this is x of t minus 2t. Similarly, the shifted version will also get shifted by 2t. It will be x of t minus 2t minus tau. When tau is equal to 0, this is exactly the same as x of t minus 2t and it will completely overlap. When tau is plus t, it will go out of the overlapping and we will get 0. When tau is minus t, again no overlapping, we will get 0. But between minus t and 0, it keeps increasing, gets maximum. From 0 to t, it decreases and becomes 0. So this is exactly the same as what we got earlier. The product was 0 until tau was minus t. Then it increased to the maximum until tau was equal to 0 and they completely overlapped. And then it decreased to 0 until tau was equal to t. Still 0 for tau less than t. It is still 0 for tau greater than t, and it is still maximum for tau equal to 0, and in between it is increasing and then decreasing. So what we can conclude from this exercise is that shifting of a function does not affect its autocorrelation. Let us now solve another question. We have to evaluate autocorrelation of the signal e raised to minus at u of t for a greater than 0. Correlation of a function x of t r x of tau is given as integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t minus tau dt. So this becomes integral from minus infinity to infinity. E raised to minus at u of t is x of t. X of t minus tau will be e raised to minus a t minus tau u of t minus tau dt. We know u of t is 1 for all t that is greater than or equal to 0. U of t minus tau is 1 for all t that is greater than or equal to tau. So when we take the product of these two, we'll only get 1 for t greater than or equal to tau. So we only have to integrate from tau to infinity. E raised to minus at. U of t is 1 there. U of t minus tau is also 1. So this multiplied by e raised to minus a into t minus tau dt. So this is integral from t to infinity. E raised to, there is 1 minus at, another minus at. So minus 2at into e raised to plus a tau dt. Here the integration is on t. So e raised to a tau will be a constant since tau is a constant. So we can write r xx of tau is e raised to a tau integral from tau to infinity e raised to minus 2at dt. This is e raised to a tau e raised to minus 2at by minus 2a from tau to infinity. This will be e raised to a tau. Giving upper limit e raised to minus infinity, we get 0. Minus giving lower limit, we get e raised to minus 2a tau divided by minus 2a. So 2a plus. Now this can be simplified as e raised to minus a tau divided by 2a. But we have learned that autocorrelation is an even function. It should look the same on both sides of the y-axis. To accommodate that, we'll write r xx of tau is equal to e raised to minus a mod of tau divided by 2a. We're taking magnitude of tau so that tau being positive or negative should not affect the value. On a graph, it will look like this. Its maximum value will be at tau equal to 0 when e raised to minus a tau becomes 1 and r xx of 0 will be 1 by 2a. On both sides, we'll get something that looks like this. Another thing we can say about this signal from here is that its energy is going to be 1 by 2a because that is the value of autocorrelation at tau equal to 0. Let us now move on to correlation of discrete time signals. Let us take cross correlation first. For energy signals, we can write Rxy of k will be summation of n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n y of n minus k. And for power signals, it will be Rxy of k is equal to limit n tends to infinity 1 by 2n plus 1 summation from n equals minus n to n x of n y of n minus k. Since they are power signals and their energy is infinite, we are taking time average. Now in autocorrelation, for energy signals, we get it like this. Rxx of k will be summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n minus k. For power signals, we get Rxx of k is limit n tends to infinity 1 by 2n plus 1 summation from n equals minus n to n x of n minus k. Let us now compare this correlation with convolution. Correlation of x of n and y of n, Rxy of k can be written as summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n y of n minus k. If I want convolution of x of n and y of n, I can write summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity x of k y of n minus k. What if I want convolution of x of k and y of k? Then we'll change all n's into k and maybe we can change all k's into n. So our summation will be from n equals minus infinity to infinity. X of k will become x of n. Y of n minus k will become y of k minus n. Again, what if I want convolution of x of k with y of minus k? Summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity. The first function has not changed, so I will still get x of n. The second function has been reversed, so y of n minus k. But this is the same as this. So we can conclude Rxy of k is equal to the convolution of x of k and y of minus k. Let's write it down. Rxy of k is equal to convolution of x of k and y of minus k. Similarly, if I want Ryx of k, I can take the convolution of y of k with x of minus k. What if I want autocorrelation of x of k? Then I can take convolution of x of k with x of minus k. Let us now see some properties of correlation function in the case of discrete time signals. According to the first property, Rxy of minus k will be equal to Ryx of k. To prove it, first let's write down what is Rxy of k. This is summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n y of n minus k. Here we are taking the product of x of n with the time shifted version of y of n. Y of n has been shifted towards the right by k units. But instead of doing that, we can take y of n as itself and shift x of n towards the left, which will give us the same effect. So this is equal to summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n plus k y of n. Let this be our equation number 1. Now we can write our yx of k. This will be summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity y of n x of n minus k. Now from the first equation, what if I wanted r xy of minus k? We have plus k here, it will simply become minus k in that case. That is summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n minus k y of n. But this is the same as this. So we can conclude Rxy of minus k is the same as Ryx of k. The same can be proven for power signals also. So let's move on to the next property. Here autocorrelation Rxx of minus k is equal to Rxx of k. In the previous property, we learned that Rxy of minus k is the same as Ryx of k. But if we are using the same signal, then this becomes Rxx of minus k is the same as Rxx of k. And this also proves that autocorrelation is an even function in the case of discrete time signals also. The next property is Rxx of 0 is Ex. That is the value of autocorrelation at tau equal to 0 will give you the energy of the signal if you are dealing with energy signals. Autocorrelation of x of n, Rxx of k, is given as summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n minus k. We get Rxx of 0 is summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n multiplied by x of n. Let's take the generalization here also. If x of n is complex valued, then Rxx of 0 becomes summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n multiplied by x conjugate of n. But product of a complex valued function and its conjugate simply gives us the square of its magnitude. So this is summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity magnitude of x of n whole square. And this is what we call energy of x of n. Now let us prove that Rxx of 0 will be the power of the signal in case of power signals. Autocorrelation of a power signal x of n can be written like this. Rxx of k is equal to limit n tends to infinity 1 by 2n plus 1 summation from n equals minus n to plus n x of n x of n minus k. If k is equal to 0, we can take Rxx of 0 and that will be limit n tends to infinity 1 by 2n plus 1 summation from n equals minus n to n x of n multiplied by x of n minus 0, which is x of n. Let us take the generalization if x of n is complex valued. Then Rxx of 0 becomes limit n tends to infinity 1 by 2n plus 1 summation from n equals minus n to n x of n multiplied by x conjugate of n, which will only give us the square of magnitude of x of n. And this is what we call the power of x of n. The next property we have to prove is that magnitude of correlation of x of n and y of n will always be less than or equal to root of product of their energies. This is obviously if they are energy signals. If they are power signals, you can use the same method to prove that it will be less than or equal to root of product of the powers. Cross correlation of x of n and y of n, r xy of k, is written as summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n y of n minus k. If I square both sides of this equation, I will get square of rxy of k is equal to square of summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n y of n minus k. We can apply Cauchy-Schwarz inequality here also. According to this, if we take summation of x of n multiplied by y of n and then square it, this will always be less than the product of summation of x square of n and summation of y square of n. So this will be always less than or equal to summation of x square of n into summation of y square of n minus k. Therefore, we can write square of rxy of k will always be less than or equal to summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity x of n squared multiplied by summation from n equals minus infinity to infinity y of n minus k squared. I have taken magnitudes also, considering the generalization that they could be complex valued as well. Now, this is what we call energy of x of n. Over here, what we have is energy of y of n. It is true that y of n has been shifted by k, but it shouldn't affect the energy. So, this is less than or equal to energy of x of n multiplied by energy of y of n. Taking roots on both sides, magnitude of rxy of k will always be less than or equal to root of ex into ey. The last property is magnitude of autocorrelation of x of n will always be less than or equal to energy of x of n. This can be simply proved from the result of our previous proof. We learned rxy of k is always less than or equal to root of ex into ey. So if x and y are the same signal, rxx of k will always be less than or equal to root of ex into ex. So it is less than or equal to ex. Here we have a discrete time LTI system whose impulse response is h of n. We are giving an input x of n and we are getting an output y of n. We have to write rxy of k, ryx of k and ryy of k in terms of rxx of k. First of all, y of n is the output of an LTI system whose impulse response is h of n to an input x of n. So what can we write about these? Y of n will be the convolution of x of n and h of n. Now let's try to solve the first part. We need rxy of k in terms of rxx of k. Rxy of k will be the convolution of x of k and y of minus k. But y of minus k will be, but according to this, y of minus k will be convolution of x of minus k and h of minus k. So this becomes convolution of x of k with the convolution of x of minus k and h of minus k. But in the properties of LTI systems, we have learned that the order of convolution doesn't really matter. So this can be written as convolution of x of k and x of minus k convolved with h of minus k. But convolution of x of k and x of minus k will be autocorrelation of x of n. So we can write r xx of k and h of minus k. Let us move on to the next part. Now we have to write r yx of k in terms of r xx of k. We know r yx of k can be written as convolution of y of k and x of minus k. But y of k is the convolution of x of k and h of k. Again, the order of convolution does not matter. So we can take x of k and x of minus k first and then take h of k. But convolution of x of k and x of minus k is autocorrelation of x of n, r xx of k. Convolution of that with h of k is giving us r yx of k. In the next part, we have to write r y of k in terms of r xx of k. That is autocorrelation of y of n in terms of autocorrelation of x of n. We know r y of k can be written as convolution of y of k and y of minus k. But y of k is the convolution of x of k and h of k, and y of minus k is the convolution of x of minus k and h of minus k. Again, the order doesn't matter. So let's take x of k with x of minus k and h of k with h of minus k. This will be the autocorrelation of x of n. This will be the autocorrelation of h of n. So r y of k is the convolution of autocorrelation of x of n and autocorrelation of h of n. So that's all about it for today. See you in the next video.